Hey everyone, hope you're having a good 4th. This is the last installment of the XR75 series. I think it was 1989 the last time this thing ran. So please join me as I button up the last few things to get this little bike back on the trail. Don't forget to smash that like button. If you like the content, subscribe for more and maybe even try that notification bell thing. And if you got something to add, throw some words down in the comments section. That really helps too. Let's get into it. So yeah, that top exhaust stud we tightened up in the last video, it popped out all on its own. So I ended up rifling through my toolbox from an old Volkswagen project and found some Healy coils. Used to not put too much faith in these things, but the more I got to know them and the more I used them, the more I like them. Really easy way to fix some threads, and you end up getting to use the same size stud or bolt or whatever you're putting in there. In all honesty, I think the ones that I ended up using here were a bit too short, but more than enough thread to hold this little exhaust pipe on, and it turned out pretty good. If you're not familiar with these things, it's essentially like a little spring. You end up drilling out the old threads, and then you put in some new threads that are a little bit bigger than the old ones. Then you screw this little spring in there, a little tang breaks off the end of it, and the threads stay in place. So you just put in your old bolt and you're good to go. Here I'm just using a vice grip to snug the stud down before reinstalling the exhaust. I swear, whoever invented these things, I thank you. An elegant solution to a common problem. That's it, easy as that, exhaust fixed. And here we have it, one last time. Hopefully it doesn't snap, and click. I mentioned in the last video, here's the updated version of that exhaust isolator for when it gets hot and expands and moves around. Here we are moving over to the intake side of things. One nice thing is that I don't have to deal with a lot of corrosion and stuff like that because this thing was stored up in the desert, and before it was stored, all the fuel was removed out of it. So everything stayed pretty good. I was really surprised once I got into the carburetor. I just did a basic clean with some carb cleaner and called it good. Yep, that's junk. I'm sure you've seen 1,000 carburetor rebuild videos, so I'm just going to let this one ride. You guys can just kind of watch along as I go through and check all the passages and make sure they're clear. Here I'm replacing all the crusty old hoses on the carb. I really like these little clamps. Since I was able to find the factory hoses, they all still fit. I wasn't able to find a new air filter yet. Down the road I'll end up getting one, but for now I just want to get the thing running. So I'm just going to run it with the screen on there. Here I am filling up the shocks. It takes a few ounces of ATF, automatic transmission fluid. Pleasantly surprised that I finally found a use for that old jug of oil that I had sitting in the back of the shelf. Finally adding some oil. I think I just threw some 1040 in there. It's 1040 in the summer and 1030 in the winter. Old school stuff on these old motorcycles. I don't know if this is the right way to install grips, but it's the way I've always been doing it. The carb cleaner makes everything really slippery and it evaporates quick, so once you slide it on, it just stays in place. Just got to make sure to get it nice and straight before the carb cleaner is gone, or you're going to have a heck of a time getting it back off. There is just something about a well-installed cotter pin. I've seen a lot of different ways that these things get installed. Here's how I do it. But man, yeah, I've worked on some trailers and different motorcycles and stuff where these things are bent every which way you could possibly imagine. Like I said, this is just how I do it. Every time I open this tank, I'm absolutely amazed that it's still in this good a shape. The thing is perfect other than a little bit of surface rust. There's always something. Luckily, all I had to do was just snug it up a little bit and it quit leaking. I'm just going to let this part roll. I think it actually does pretty good for something that has been sitting this long. Enjoy. Yes, you remembered to tighten the spark plug. You're all good. Just keep going. we are a few weeks later. I threw the XR650L in the background just for a size comparison. So the reason it took a few weeks is that I had a runability issue. It just would not idle or drive well. It was low on power. I checked timing, I checked compression, checked everything. I had the carburetor off a whole bunch of times. It ended up being the clip on the needle was in the wrong position. I don't know how it got that way. It used to run fine that way, but now it doesn't like it. I drove it that way for years, but luckily I checked the book, made the adjustment, and now we're up and running. So here we are, just in time for the 4th. I finally get to ride this thing. So yeah, it seems a little ridiculous. A grown man riding around on a little motorcycle like a bear on a tricycle. But honestly, if you found your first motorcycle in the attic of a barn in a whole bunch of pieces, wouldn't you want to put it back together and get it running again? I had a good time. It was nice to get this thing going on the 4th of July. I hope you guys had a good 4th. Please like and subscribe. It really helps with the algorithm. The next project is a 1955 Ford Thunderbird. It's got all sorts of problems, but I want to get it driving again. So I should be dropping a video on that next week. Please like and subscribe. We'll talk to you guys later. Enjoy the rest of your 4th.